So a big weekend for the Dodgers. They signed Roki Sasaki on Friday and then Tanner Scott on Sunday, and they appear close on Kirby Yates. So we did an emergency podcast for Roki Sasaki. You can go back and check that out. Let's try and figure out the Dodgers bullpen. Tanner Scott to the Dodgers on a 4-year, $72 million deal. Shocker. The deal includes a $20 million signing bonus and $21 million in deferred money. Tanner Scott is 30 years old, and he has evolved into one of the best relievers in all of baseball. Lefty, righty, it doesn't matter. He is one of the best. Now, the Dodgers are also apparently in serious discussions with Kirby Yates. Bob Nightingale already reported that the deal is done. We haven't got that information from anybody else, but it does appear to be close. Just posted one of the best reliever seasons in baseball, did Kirby Yates. He's now entering his age 38 season, but last year with the Rangers, a 1.17 ERA, a .83 whip, over 12 K per nine, and one of the largest saves totals in all of baseball. So, Scott, we will start with you. You will get the first crack at figuring out the Dodgers bullpen because it could feature Kirby Yates, Tanner Scott, Blake Trinan. Oh, and on top of all of this, apparently Michael Kopech is going to miss the first month of the season. But he'll be back at some point. So,
the first thing I want to say is that for every marquee free agent the Dodgers sign, I think, wow, they really like Michael Conforto. Because it's clear at this point they can get whoever they want, and they got him to fill one of their outfield spots. But that's a different matter for a different day.
Was he the first player they signed, or was it Blake Snell?
I don't remember.
I want to say Snell was first.
I think so.
I could look it up, but I'm talking, so one of you look it up. Yeah, I think it's going to be a mess. Even before the Kirby Yates news was announced, which it's not even official yet, so I don't want to jump the gun on that, but hypothetically Kirby Yates is part of this bullpen too. And even before that was announced, with just the Tanner Scott news for as big a dollar amount as he signed for 4 years, $72 million, extra money on top of that with the signing bonus, right? I wasn't convinced that he was just going to be the guy. Maybe he would be. He had spent, parts of the last 3 seasons as a closer, but never. He was never the closer from start to finish for any of those 3 seasons, and even he didn't finish last year. I traded to the Padres, and they stuck with Robert Suarez in the role. Tanner Scott was one of the setup men for him. So it's not like he's this rock solid, tried and true closer. He has a very high walk rate, even with the 1.75 ERA last year, 4.5 walks per 9 innings, and it's been higher than that in the past. He struggles with control at times. So just given the way Dave Roberts has operated since Kenley Jansen left, even if he started out with Tanner Scott as his closer, I think there'd be a time when Scott was just walking a bunch of guys and he got frustrated with them and went with another hot hand for a while. And my thinking was kind of, okay, as much trust as Dave Roberts showed in Blake Trinan during their World Series run last year, ultimately, I kind of felt like Blake Trinan would be the winner, the one to have in fantasy. And if you compare his and Scott's numbers side by side last year, I think Trinan comes out ahead. I think he had the better year overall. But then there's this possibility of them signing Kirby Yates, who had the best year of any of these guys last year. So maybe he should just be the closer. But again, the way Dave Roberts has operated since Kenley Jansen left, it's more like he gets fixated on one guy for a while, but he's happy to change at the drop of a hat. And so I don't think he would make it clear before the season started who he wants to go with. And I don't think we could get too attached to anyone in season either. So I'm kind of just going to leave this for everybody else on draft day. Assuming Yates is there, and it's Yates, Scott, and Blake Trinan. I think those are the clear front runners. But, of course, Michael Kopech could factor in after a month. We could see Evan Phillips.
I mean, Alex Vesia was one of the best relievers in baseball last.
Yeah.
This is a team that legitimately has, I think, 6 closer caliber relievers, maybe 7.
I would say
Bruce
so.
Gratterall's really good too.
And I'm not going to say they're all going to get the exact same number of saves. Maybe one will lead the way with like 21 or something, but I just think it'll be very frustrating over the course of the season. We won't ever feel totally comfortable that any guy is the guy. So I'm just going to avoid it. Let somebody else reach for their favorite. If one of those three happens to fall, Scott, Yates, or Trinan, most likely Trinan, I would think, in a deeper league where I know saves are going to be scarce, maybe I'll make a play for him late, but that's as close as I'm going to get to touching the Dodgers bullpen, I think.
Here is how I ranked it. You can tell me if I'm way off base or not. I have Kirby Yates 230th overall, Tanner Scott 231st, and then the rest of the guys outside of the top like 350.
Chris, can you pull up just your RP rankings and let us know kind of where that falls in the
23 and 24. So behind the Ben Joyce, Jordan Romano, Porter Hodge guys, and ahead of some guys who haven't signed yet. So like Carlos Estevez might jump them. So yeah, I'm with you. Like, could I see a scenario where one of these guys gets 40 saves and is a top 5 closer next year? Absolutely. The Dodgers are going to win like 107 games in 2025.
At least.
This is an outrageously dominant team, and you want great relievers on outrageously dominant teams. The problem is, on any given night, Dave Roberts could go to one of 5 to 7 viable late inning high leverage options, and it wouldn't be a surprise. I mentioned Bruce Gratterall. He's actually out till I think the mid part of the season. He had shoulder surgery, but like Kopech, it doesn't sound like he can't pitch. It sounds like they want to be careful with him, which is part of why they are apparently signing Kirby Yates, is to have a little more depth. This is a team that, while they have enviable depth in the rotation, they don't necessarily have a lot of guys you can count on going deep into games consistently. And so we know when they get to the postseason, they're going to have a short leash with them. They use these guys a lot in the postseason. I think that's a big part of the Tanner Scott signing, is he's just been unbelievably durable. Like, I think is it 3 straight seasons with at least 70 innings for Tanner Scott, which is
2 straight.
2 straight. That's a number you don't see very much. And I'm sure in 2022 he faced a ton of batters. He was just much less efficient, so he didn't get to that.
Yeah, it was close. 2022, 289 batters. Then this past year, 294.
So yeah, the point is, I think Tanner Scott's ability to go multiple innings and be durable played a big part in why they were so interested in him. And you would think the guy who is now the 3rd highest reliever in baseball for a team we expect to win 108 games at least would be a high-end fantasy reliever. And I just can't bring myself to do it, especially if they sign Kirby Yates. If the Kirby Yates thing falls apart, I would be comfortable ranking Tanner Scott in the top 15, but probably not too much higher than that, because, you can go back to Kenley Jansen.
Right.
None of these guys are Kenley Jansen.
I'd rather have Porter Hodge, Lucas Urseg. I'm saying even if the Yates thing falls through, I just think it's going to be, like I said, a headache all season long. You're never going to be totally comfortable with it, no matter how many saves in a row the current front runner is.
I preemptively ranked Tanner Scott as my 17th closer before the Kirby Yates signing. That would have put him behind Urseg, behind Jeff Hoffman, behind Trevor McGill, and ahead of names like David Bednar, Alexis Diaz. That kind of feels like a tier break where, I do have some questions about the Bednars and Diaz and Jordan Romanos of the world, guys like that. Obviously, there would be questions with Tanner Scott if he was the only guy, but he obviously is super talented and pitching for one of the best teams in baseball. But the Kirby Yates thing does kind of throw things off a little bit here. So we'll wait until that's completely finalized. I guess we can address this again, see if we get any Dave Roberts quotes. I don't see why he would tip his hand as much as we would like that to happen for fantasy. From just a gamesmanship perspective, why would he, right? Like, going into the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th innings of games and opposing teams don't know which relievers are coming out, that is a huge advantage for the Dodgers. So again, it's annoying for fantasy, but I totally understand why they would want to kind of keep it a secret or play matchups or do whatever they want to do. just from a real life baseball perspective. Just one other thing on the Dodgers. I just want to address this. I kind of facetiously mentioned up at the top that the Dodgers are ruining baseball. They have the super team thing. Got to be honest, guys. I think it's a little bit misguided, and I think it's a little bit soft because for all the other teams in baseball, I mean, it's January 22nd. You had 2.5 months to sign Tanner Scott, to sign Kirby Yates. If you wanted to do that, nobody got it done. The Roki Sasaki thing is a little bit more annoying because any team could have signed him. And in fact, the Padres did offer more money, but he just wanted to go to the Dodgers. So that's
apparently the Blue Jays offered the most money to Roki Sasaki, but the numbers were so minor there. Like the difference between $10.5 million and $7 million. It's a lot of money to me.
Yeah.
But if you think like Roki Sasaki, his future earnings are $300 million, potentially more, that doesn't matter. He's just going to go where he wants to go.
The Dodgers keep doing this signing bonus thing, which hasn't really been part of baseball free agency. I know it's been a thing in other sports, and I just wonder if that, I mean, at this point, it seems like players are choosing the Dodgers even when they're not offering the most money. So that's frustrating too. That feels like, well, teams just don't have a chance to compete really. But it is baseball. And like, as I talked about last week, we can be nearly 100% confident the Dodgers are going to make the playoffs, but we have no idea what's going to happen once they get there.
A sample of 5 or 7 games is just so small that anything can happen. People say this all the time about super teams, and other sports have not been ruined by super teams either. In fact, I think it has made other sports more interesting, right? People want to take down this quote unquote super team, and everyone's talking about baseball right now too. And the Dodgers kind of ruining the sport. I think it's good. I think it's good for the sport. Frankly, they're going to target on their back. I like it.
I think you can reach a point where there is too much talent on one team, and maybe we're at that point with the Dodgers. Like the Roki Sasaki thing is like, it probably would have been better for him to sign with the Padres just from like a competitive balance standpoint, but also like, what are we supposed to do? Like I saw, someone said like, would you be okay if there was no 2027 baseball season, if there was a salary cap? It's like, it was almost 50-50. And it's like, do you people not actually like baseball? That's dumb. Like, that's just,
that would be difficult also, to recover from.
And also just like Frank said, Kirby Yates is available to sign with anyone and has been for 2.5 months. Tanner Scott was available to sign with anyone. Like, I understand, as someone whose favorite team had Tanner Scott as their closer, why you would be hesitant to give out the 5th biggest contract for a reliever ever. Like, I did not enjoy the Tanner Scott experience as a Marlins fan personally. But if we're going to complain about it, the problem is not the Dodgers. The problem is that the Red Sox and the Yankees and the Cubs have the Cubs signed anyone this offseason?
They traded for Kyle Tucker.
But have they signed like what? Like the Pirates?
Vidal Brujan. They signed Vidal Brujan.
The Pirates have Paul Skeens, who is healthy and the Cy Young favorite right now, which means the Pirates rebuild is over. Like, you need to push your chips in right now. And the Pirates signed Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Like, what? Like, I'm not going to complain about the Dodgers when that's happening. Like, the Pirates, you haven't been spending any money lately, so you should have something saved up. You couldn't go get Tanner Scott. Like, the complaining about the Dodgers are not the problem. The problem is that nobody else is trying. It shouldn't be this easy for the Dodgers to sign everyone. Like, the Yankees are allowed to do a deferred money deal. This like, oh, it's so unfair. They're doing deferred. The Yankees have never deferred money to anyone, as far as I know. Maybe try it out. See what happens. I don't know. But like the complaining about the Dodgers, like, I'm not happy about it. I think it would be better if these guys signed with other teams, but the other teams have to try.
Yeah. And look, we've talked about the Orioles all off season too, and the fact they chose to sign Charlie Morton and Tomoyuki Sagano instead of paying up for a Blake Snell. Like, pay up for Blake Snell early on in the offseason. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Also, I will preemptively just apologize for this episode going long because I led us down that rabbit hole because I did want to get that off my chest because frankly, everyone's complaining and I don't like it. I think it's kind of soft.